This podcast is sponsored by Systems Accountants, a specialist global resourcing solutions company focused exclusively on accounting technology and finance transformation.
There's no doubt that being a rugby coach is a demanding career, but when you are coaching thousands of miles away from home on another continent, the challenges are perhaps that much more difficult. Someone who can shed some light on this is coach of the Houston Strikers in the USA and former Island prop Justin Fitzpatrick. Justin, it's a great pleasure to speak with you here at the Rugby Business Network. Thanks for providing the opportunity.
Thanks, looking forward to speaking with you.
Well, Justin, you had a long career as a player after making your debut for Ireland in 1998, where you played in a Rugby World Cup and you earned 26 caps over a 5-year span. You also played for clubs like London Irish and Ulster before announcing your retirement in 2010. Was it a playing career you can look back on with fond memories, and what are some of those?
Oh, very much so. Very, very thankful for the opportunities and some of the players I played with, the coaches I worked under, and the great environments that I was privileged enough to be part of. So it was a lot of fun memories looking back over my career. Obviously, winning my first cap for Ireland in South Africa was in '98 was a very fond memory for me. Get to go to too many venues like that in your career and play against a great Springbok side. So that was something I look back with a lot of fond memories on. A lot of happy memories of that.
Fantastic. Well, right after retiring as a professional rugby player, you joined Dungannon as their head coach in 2011, and it was a brilliant start to your coaching career as you led the team to an All-Ireland Cup final. When you were nearing retirement as a player, Justin, did you already know that you wanted to continue as a coach, or were there other career options you were considering at the time?
Yes, I mean, obviously as you get a little older as a player, you're very aware that your playing career is of a short period of time. So I'd explored coaching over a number of years. I mean, I did my first coaching course when I was 17, believe it or not. So it's something I'd always had an active interest in. I had it looked at other things as well. I wasn't sure. Probably up until 4 or 5 years before I retired, whether or not A, I wanted to coach, and B, I had the aptitude to do it. So, I had looked at other opportunities, leveraging the rugby business network in Ulster and London, where I'd spent most of my playing careers. But in the end, I felt having done a little bit more year on year leading up to my retirement that it was something that I enjoyed and felt that I could be competitive at. And luckily enough, my home club Dungannon came through with an opportunity to be the head coach, and fell into it and really enjoyed the experience and very thankful for the opportunity.
Well, moving forward onto that, into 2013, you decided to continue your coaching career in the United States, where you took up the head coach role with the Seattle Saracens, and you were also assistant coach with the USA Eagles. What was the reason behind you making the choice to go and coach in America?
I really wanted to challenge myself, to see something different. Initially, it was only going to be a short-term thing, just to get out. And I'd never had the opportunity of, and up until very recently, there wasn't the opportunity to play professionally in America, and it's somewhere that always held a lot of fascination for me. So when the opportunity came along with a former teammate of mine at London Irish, Kevin Flynn, to move to Seattle, I looked at it and thought, I'd really like to do that and tick that off the bucket list. As I got over here and got more ingrained into the city and to the opportunity, it opened up a lot of opportunities. Mike Tolkien asked me to come in into his management team, and I had a really enjoyable, positive experience. Building up to the World Cup in 2015 with the US national team.
Well, speaking of that World Cup, what was the experience like for you as a coach, considering you had been to a World Cup 16 years earlier as a player?
It's a whirlwind. It's for both the players and coaches. It's very busy. Obviously, it's the biggest rugby event on the calendar, and there's a lot of work. Obviously, things have changed quite dramatically, as they do in very, very short periods of time since I'd played at a World Cup to when I was coaching a number of teams, the standard, the technology, so on and so forth. But it's still the same excitement. I thought England did a fantastic job of hosting the World Cup. We were certainly very well looked after. I'd say it's a lot harder as a coach than it was as a player. As a player, once you finish your preparation, your training, you have a little bit more time to relax and recuperate, which is part of that preparation. As a coach, you're almost 24/7 preparing, reviewing, delivering to help the players perform. But that said, it was a really enjoyable experience and one I've got a lot of fond memories of.
Well, Justin, you've been in the United States for 4 years, so you should be well immersed in the rugby culture over there by now. How would you say it differs to rugby in terms of setup and playing style compared to Ireland and the United Kingdom by extension?
I think, obviously there's an awful lot of growth even in the 4 years that I've been here within the United States. When I arrived here, there was, very little talk of the game going professional. That is a reality now, which I think is going to be a game changer. I'm just about old enough that I remember the transition from amateur through to professional while I was at London Irish, and I see a lot of similarities in the challenges that are presenting themselves here. I actually think that there's probably potentially in a better position. Here, sport is a much more ingrained business across a number of disciplines here in the US, so we're able to leverage some of that. The Americans are sports mad, no doubt about that at all. So I'm very excited and optimistic about professional rugby coming into the United States.
Well, Justin, this past Saturday, we all got to see for ourselves these two rugby cultures come together in New Jersey, where Ireland eased to a 55-19 win over the USA. In your opinion, what changes need to take place so that the scoreline we witnessed at the Red Bull Arena is reduced and possibly reversed in the future?
Well, I think, as I alluded to there, I lived through the transition from amateur through to professional, and if you look back around that sort of period of time when the likes of Ireland played, and some of the other home nations played the Southern Hemisphere sides, those score lines were quite commonplace. That is not the case anymore. We saw last autumn when Ireland played the All Blacks, for example. And the reason of that closing the gap is that the difference, or the margins of difference, have closed. There's guys are being tracked in all the home nations from a very early age, all the way through nutritionally, athletically, mentally, technically and tactically. So just as they are in what was or is the leading countries in the Southern Hemisphere, with the advent of professionalism, over time that will change here as well. At the moment, you've got half of those guys that played against Ireland here for the US that are working full time or working part time to be able to play. So that makes it a very uneven playing level for those guys to compete. So with the opportunity, professional rugby, with facilities, with coaching, with being able to focus on playing and athletic performance, that will change slowly but surely.
To follow up on that, Justin, it's often been said in rugby circles that the sport in the United States is a sleeping giant. At this stage, where would you say the current state of the game is at, and how soon do you think it will take to wake that giant up?
Well, I think it's a process. I mean, nothing happens in sport overnight. I think by as Yeah, I had this conversation the other day. I think as a child growing up, whether you're English or Irish or South African or Australian, you grow up, aspiring to play for your national team in whatever sport that is of interest to you. That is the apex to the pyramid here. If you ask a child here in the US what he aspires to be, depending on the sport that he loves. In terms of the traditional American sports, it's playing for the professional team that he supports, whether that's the Houston Texans or the Astros or whatever sport it is. And I think the sport of rugby will help legitimize itself by having that professional strata, which will help for many different reasons. The national team grow, the pathway, the volume of players able to compete at the top level, and also legitimize it so that you have crossover athletes more able to come into rugby and compete for places. And when you activate that this huge population here, the huge volume of athletes that are here, I think you're going to see over time the giant awake.
Fantastic. Well, just 3 months ago, it was announced that you are the new coach of the Houston Strikers for the 2018 Major League Rugby season. Not only is it exciting times ahead for you personally, but also for rugby in America with the forming of this elite level rugby competition, which you have been alluding to. Has a tournament like this been long overdue in the USA?
I think it has been long overdue, and I'm incredibly excited about it, as are a lot of people in the US. You've got stakeholders from around the country that are putting money, time, expertise into professionalising their own clubs. And as I said, as I alluded to before, I lived through the transition from professionalism in the UK and Ireland, and I think because of how sport is structured here, I believe this will be not without a few bumps in the road, will be a smoother transition. There's a lot of expertise from the major professional sports within Major League Rugby, and I think that will help both to market it and to make the league and the different teams within the league an attractive proposition for the American sports consumer. And that's going to be a game changer for rugby here in the US and hopefully further afield.
We're all looking forward to that. Justin, with rugby competitions across the world like Super Rugby, where 18 teams are involved in the Southern Hemisphere, as well as the English Championship and Top 14 in the UK, to mention just a few, coaching opportunities are available across the globe. Why would you urge coaches, though, to rather consider a career in the USA?
Look, I think from my point of view, where I find this very exciting professionally and intellectually, is that it's very new. I think to be part of a new franchise here with the Houston Strikers, to be part of a new league in a country that hasn't had professional rugby per se here is incredibly exciting. To be able to challenge yourself and cross all those bridges to actually form something new and exciting here is going to be a great challenge, but also very rewarding and very successful. I think if you also look then, as I said before, at the volume of athletes that are potentially available to local rugby coaches here in the professional environment, you've got a lot of raw material you just don't have anywhere else in the world, And I think as it grows and legitimizes itself in the American public's consciousness, that it's going to really grow legs and move forward at a pace. And I'm incredibly excited and very privileged to be part of. Outside of that, the US is a great place to live. It's so outside of the professional bit, the lifestyle, the people is it's just very enjoyable to be here.
Well, Justin, we'll end off with a simple question which possibly doesn't have a straightforward answer. Why should businesses invest in USA teams and rugby as a whole in America?
I think if you look at the other professional leagues for other sports in the US, whether it's minor league or major league, baseball, NFL, MLS is a great example. The opportunity for growth and a return on your investment is huge. You only got to look at any of the franchise, especially the MLS ones. The return is massive on your investment if you're buying in as an owner. As a business looking to sponsor or invest in it, there's a lot to be said for it. It's both a national and a global game, so that's very attractive for businesses that have feet in different global markets, it's got a clean cut image. It's hard. It's physical. It's got a great culture behind it, and it's a game that's for men and women, from youth all the way up to Olympic and professional levels. So it ticks an awful lot of boxes, and also is out there in the community. So I doubt there are, and I can't think of any other sports that do so much and tick so many boxes that sponsors wouldn't feel, or investors wouldn't feel, a positive return on their investment.
Well, I guess there is a straightforward answer to that simple question. Justin, it's fantastic to see rugby in the United States heading in the right direction, and we at the Rugby Business Network wish you all the best with the Houston Strikers in your first season in charge and beyond.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.